all of a sudden gets exposed in a much more real way here. For Akamaru and Essia, what do you think these players are most afraid of? What do you think they're trying to avoid here?
I would think that Essia would want to avoid D shift. He would want to avoid D shift. Like,
Yes.
yeah, mainly because D shift is incredibly good against his lineup. He is running a much slower variation of Vengeance Blood, and he's running Nef Shadow, which D shift has great matchups against.
And Wallet Forest. Really late game Wallet Forest. Right.
So, yeah, he's definitely disadvantaged against D shift. So I think that would be his ban. In Akamaru's favor.
Well, no bans. Remember, Brian, no bans today. So it's straightforward best 3 out of 5.
No, there is bans for this one.
Until
for this
the finals.
There's
Until the finals.
Until the finals.
That's right.
Right.
Perfect.
So there is a ban here.
You're absolutely correct. Oh my goodness. not to interrupt you, but please take a look at Essia's hand right now. You can even see it on his face.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous. This is not what you want to see when you're playing a wallet deck.
No, this is not. 3 Bahamut's in hand is not what you want to be seeing. He's gonna have some really good draws to get out of this. That's a start. That's a little bit of a start.
Absolutely.
It's something he can.
And yeah, I want to say that all of the lists today are like very specific. Like we're not seeing anything normal today. Like even the Net Shadows have their own variations. The Vengeance Bloods were going crazy. Ever since I saw Bottle's deck last week, I think Vengeance Blood took this turn. And I don't know where it went, but I kind of like it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Vengeance Blood needing a little bit of a different twist to it is just what the doctor ordered, in a matter of fact.
Absolutely.
I like the new direction of that. But this isn't about Vengeance Blood. This is about Shadow versus Bahamut Forest. So
that's right. Bahamut Forest. That's exactly right. And Beauty and the Beast. Okay, so he's got a nice little curve coming up. Those 3 Bahamuts, while not doing anything now, do provide the requisite triple neutral that you need in your hand for Hector and Beauty and the Beast.
It does do that. So while it's going to be a very long time before he plays those Bahamut, it's going to be a very long time. While it's going to be a while.
You really just see Essia laughing like every turn right now. He's just like, my God.
My hand, bro. I'd be upset too. But
absolutely.
So
finally a break.
Man,
this is
like okay. So let's say you're Essia, right? Because his hand obviously. What would you need to draw to get yourself out of this? Like what series of cards would you need to get?
Honestly, his hand isn't that bad right now. Alice isn't technically what he's looking for. But honestly, he just needs more cards like Hector. Like, if he just drew a string of Hectors right now, I think he'd be in really good shape. Other than that, it's realistically just can he survive. So Hector is his best option. Outside of that, he's kind of got a lot of loose draws coming up. I mean, he's got the Hector for this turn. He has Beauty and the Beast for next turn. So he doesn't have, like, the worst game plan. And it's not like he's super low right now. Like, Hector can come down and do a lot of work. But other than that, it's really just going to be, can he survive until the Bahamut turns? If he can't, then, you know, he's just going to have 3 dead cards that he's had since his opening draw, which never feels good.
Right. Akamarured is, you know, he's really thinking right now. It's rare, you know, for him. You know, like usually he's got this really cool, calm and composed, really, you know, active kind of behavior. Not today.
Not today. He's bringing the serious face today. That's right.
Yeah, money's on the line. You know, you don't play when there's money. You know.
You don't play around, rather. You definitely
play. Around, right? I was like, whoops, my bad.
So Akamarured has a couple different lines he can play here. He's got the Soul Squasher, decides to go away from that path. Interesting.
Not necessarily that.
Okay. Okay. So he decides to go with just basically a straightforward route, preserving all of his Evos. Maybe setting up for a really big Prince Catacomb turn next turn so that he can set up for Ektar on 7. So his game plan's working at full throttle right now.
Not to mention, he is still sitting on 3 Evos. So I mean, should he later in the game need to start pushing some damage, he's definitely going to have the resources to do it.
Absolutely. He's got it. And with the Prince Catacomb coming up, he's definitely going to have targets for a while. Now, what's really interesting here, how much of those resources are going to have to be used up on this Beauty and the Beast? Is he going to ignore Beauty and the Beast? What do you think, Aya?
I don't know if you can really afford to do that, right? So it also depends on how Essia's next turn plays out in general. If he even plays the Beauty and the Beast, he might decide, you know, I'm going to play the Hector and just use his last Evo to clear board. He might decide that.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Very
Well,
interesting.
he
This is going to
decided
actually get hard punished.
Yeah. Pretty bad.
Yes. Oh, wow. He still goes with,
wow.
with the Beauty and the Beast. I would have thought the pre-Evo meant easy Hector here.
Yeah. That would have... Yeah. I'm a little puzzled by that. So now, this Prince Catacomb...
Yeah. It's going to do a lot of work here. Now, unfortunately, there's not really... Okay, he just drew the Demon Eater, so now he does... Well, that's really not going to do much except for draw some cards. Is there really going to be an easy way to take out this Beauty and the Beast? He can Evo the Soul Squasher and use a Serb, use the Coco.
Well, what I was thinking he could have done is
yeah.
he could have played Lyrial War Carrot and then played Catacomb right after. Ran his Soul Squasher in, Evo'd, then traded. Still would have had a board.
Interesting. Okay, so he goes with the Serb Coco line, which is not a bad line. It clears out the Beauty and the Beast. He's still able to push 2 damage.
But see, I think that not going for the Catacomb might come back to haunt him a little bit.
I think so. Now he doesn't really have a good setup for the Ektar turn. He does have some late game push with another Cerberus coming up, but is he ever going to be able to stick things anymore? We've got the Aaron coming next turn, so he kind of found that bridge. He got the Aaron for 8. He's got 1 turn on turn 9 where Akamarured has a huge chance to push. But is it going to be enough?
See, this feels really bad.
I'm sorry.
And I'm not even saying this just from the fact that we can see the hands. I'm saying that because usually you want to hold your Lurching Corpses for, you know, your opponent when they're playing like their Bahamut or their Israfils and stuff like that. And he had to use it, or he felt that he needed to use it right there to preserve his Evo point and to get rid of the Hector. So it's a little, to me, I think it's a little iffy to play it like that. Taking a swig of water. Oh, okay. All right. Well, it now looks like Essia has to think about whether or not he's going to play Crystalia Aaron right now, or if he's going to play out his... He could play Kaiser Carrot into Unica. He has to decide whether or not he's going to... It looks like he's going to go for the Kaiser Carrot. This allows him to fill up the board, and now Akamarured. Ooh, okay. So he drew into Hector, or into Ektar. I'm about to say Hector. I was messed up. He drew into Ektar. He could go for the board clear, if he really, really wanted to. He could go for the board clear, and I guess that's what he's going to go for. He will also be able to push a substantial amount of face damage as well.
Yep, I like this line of play. Like, this is the perfect amount of shadows. He gets to build back shadows this turn and push a ton of face damage.
Right.
The Evo for not face damage here is interesting. I don't know why clearing the carrot is the option. Yeah.
I don't know why he would do that, but this does present a lethal board.
It does. Absolutely does. And this is the big window right now. Essia has to survive this turn.
Well, actually, Akamarured can now play and set up his Prince Catacomb now.
That's right. This would be the turn to do so. He has to. He's got to know Bahamuts are coming. At least one.
Yeah, for sure.
And honestly, if Bahamut's the play next turn after this Prince Catacomb, there's not really much Essia can do to prevent this Ektar from being lethal on the following turn, or possibly even the Cerberus with how many tokens are going to be left over.
Yeah. So I'm hoping Akamarured isn't thinking about anything other than playing this Prince Catacomb.
Right. Skipped his opportunity earlier, but not a bad step, and now he's not missing it. Perfect.
Yep. So this is the part where Essia is going to be sweating bullets because there's nothing in his hand that can deal with the oncoming lethal.
Yeah, you're literally looking at one less than lethal coming and anything out of Shadow, another Cerb, another Ektar. Like, you got to know something's there. It feels bad.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole game had to feel bad for Essia. Starting with 3 Bahamuts is never where you want to be. Never.
No, it isn't. And I know he's thinking about it. He's mulling it over, but unfortunately, with no Evo points, no wars, no nothing, there's no way he can stop this.
Yep. And that's his only play. He sees the line.
Yeah, he sees that this is a wrap for him. He did the lean back. His head was like, it's over. And it is.
And Akamarured coming in strong today.
You're strong.
Yes. And man, this man did some studying before. Yeah, he was reading some books. He's like, let's go. I'm ready to win some money,
Got his geometry books out, his arithmetics books out. He's not even just doing Shadowverse research. He's like, I need to get my numbers correct today.
Yeah, man.
He's ready to go. He's in a library. He's got access to every book under the sun. Look at him.
Bro?
That's right.
Public library.
I love it, dude. I love his backdrop every single time. I love it.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think that shows a lot of character to play your games in a public library. You know, that's good job, Akamarured.
Maybe he's trying to build his own crowd. You know what I mean? Like, he's going out to these public places and he's like, look, I'm the best. Come watch me do what I do.
Hey, you know, he did go undefeated in the round robin, so...
My quarry won't escape that
true.
easy.
There might be a peanut gallery that we can't see sitting right beside him. We don't know this.
That's true. That's true, but he's praying right now. He's please let me win. Yes.
So, talk to me about this matchup. So, Akamarured over here has Force. This is just a standard Roach OTK-less. He's got some Angel Lords thrown in, with ETAs also thrown in with Into the Looking Glass, the combo that we've seen. And this is Nep Shadow from Essia. And realistically, there's not anything too crazy about this Nep deck other than it has a Test of Strength. There is a really big tech card that could come into play here in the Force matchup.
Yes. So the thing about this matchup really comes down to one card, and that card is Death's Breath. Death's Breath is quite possibly the curb stomp against Forest. If Essia gets out a Death's Breath, then it's going to be incredibly hard for Akamarured. However, if he does,
that's right,
then he has a very good chance of winning this match.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Death's Breath has been the big forest killer for the longest time, and Nep has tons of card draw, tons of ways to get to its Death's Breath. A lot of the mid-shadow lists don't play it anymore, but Nep Shadow we know does because it needs that mid-game option to bridge right before Kawi and Nephthys.
Yep.
So very interesting line. If he does survive into the late game, that Test of Strength could give him a few turns that he needs to also finish out the game. So one extra card on top of the Death's Breath to kind of help with this matchup, which I really like.
Well, for those who don't know, the Test of Strength is actually there to work with Mordecai. So Mordecai can't die, or rather it dies, but then it summons another copy of itself. So because of that, you just have, when the new Mordecai comes into play, Test of Strength will give it ward. So every time that Mordecai dies, you know, more ward. And that is incredibly difficult for Forrest to get around because they're not running any Banish. There's no Odins in his list. There's nothing like that. So
right.
If that combination should come down, it's going to be really difficult for Akamarured.
Absolutely. As it stands, though, Essia has kind of what you'd like in the early game. He's got his filter cards. He's got a few pieces of removal. He's got a ton of filter cards now. My goodness. All the soul conversions.
Yeah, he kind of threw his hands up like, oh, that's not what I wanted. Like,
His decks are liking to give him his 3 of a kinds. You know, he's got the Bahamut's, now he's got the soul conversions.
Yo,
And now a double.
Yo,
Oh my
he
goodness.
is not liking what he's getting right now. It's okay, man. Pull yourself together,
That's
bro.
funny.
he just kind of, what? What is this? Okay. So
Yeah.
Obvious play here, I believe, is EPM.
Crying for help.
Yes. EPM set up for the combo. You already have Nature's Guidance. You don't have access to any roaches yet, but you do have access to the Goblin Mage next turn, possibly, into a Wood of the Brambles to kind of reestablish some board. So all he's really looking for is like another roach and to dodge something like a Death's Breath, which we know that Essia does not have access to just yet. So I think he's going to have to dig this turn. That's really all he can do, to be honest, but he's going to have to.
Yeah, because his hand is obviously amazing. I mean, he's got all the card draw he could want. And by that, I mean...
This plays very interesting.
Yes,
he will be able to play one of them. And this kind of sets him down on his shadows, though. Using the Soul Squasher for shadows means even if he drew into a Death's Breath, he wouldn't be able to play it immediately. And it's going to take some time for him to build those shadows back up. So an interesting choice there.
Yeah, I think if I were him, I may have been more willing to sacrifice the Evo point just to make sure that I had those for Death's Breath. But I don't know, maybe he's not looking at Death's Breath right now. He's like, you know, I got a Kawi in hand, so I have to bridge me from turn 7 and on. So, yeah. Now, we do see in Essia's hand a card that we haven't seen in a really long time. Play for Necromancer.
That's right.
Play for Necromancer.
And Playful Necromancer is interesting because we talk a ton about Lyrial and the benefits of Lyrial and how it's even good by itself on turn 4. Playful Necromancer is kind of like double Lyrial. It doesn't allow you to play anything else on that turn, but it gets you 2 pings, so you can kind of set up a nice board for Playful Necromancer. And it's really not that bad against Forest because it also does double duty against little fairies when they're in play, so it can kind of clear the board. So maybe a very interesting tech for what he thought he was going to face.
Well, I mean, if he was expecting to face Forest, he certainly got it because that's what he's playing against right now.
Absolutely.
Well, at the very least, he will, if he decides that he wants to use the Playful Necromancer, he could use that right now to clear his board.
That's right. Very easily, even push some damage if he so chooses.
Yeah. There it is.
Yep, and he can use the leftover, the leftover followers to use his soul conversions on. So this is actually kind of perfect.
Yeah, it's exactly I think what he wanted. Maybe not. Maybe not. He just, you saw it, man.
You can see every draw on his face right now is just, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's
He's
just not
very animated here. I feel for him.
Yeah, I do too. I feel so bad for him right now. But it's not, he's not in a terrible position. I mean,
no, definitely not.
But the later the game goes, the worse it's going to get if he doesn't get those cards he needs. That Death's Breath, that Test of Strength. The later it goes without those cards, Akamarured Red's just going to have the opportunity to kill him.
Now, here's an interesting choice. I think ETA is probably the best choice here because it clears out both followers pretty easily. Yep. Along with a little bit of help here. Actually, the Playful Necromancer gets countered by Wood of Brambles. That's a very interesting type of interaction. I haven't seen this at all. Actually, I haven't seen Wood of the Brambles versus a tech card like Playful Necromancer, so it's kind of like anti-tech, but it's already built into the deck. So that's a very interesting, very interesting choice.
Well, I don't know if he was thinking about that when he made it, but it certainly ended up kind of working out that way.
Right. I just mean deck composition-wise. I think it's very interesting to see that there are these natural like counters to even very specific tech cards that people are bringing.
Yeah.
Wood of the Brambles, for those of you who don't know, that little flag you see that popped under the fairies is whenever those fairies get into combat, or any follower that you have in play get into combat, you actually clash and deal a damage immediately. So those playful Necromancer tokens aren't really going to get a lot of value if they want to try to trade at all. As a matter of fact, no value.
Right. Well, Essia is heavily considering his options, whether or not he wants to play Kawi here. He opts not to. I actually kind of like this. He didn't have to play it. So
Right.
he didn't have to. He's not in any danger of being coach lethal right now. And I think he knows that. So it makes a lot of sense for him not to play the Kawi here. But
I like it
he's
because
still gonna need.
you know, I was gonna say, like, this might have been kind of a misstep. Like, we know because of the hands it's not, but you know your opponent had 2 fairies, had an Evo point, you know, at 0 cost, the 0 cost fairy. So technically, there could have been a lethal chain there. So it was kind of scary not to play the Kawi. But if you really think that they haven't naturally drawn the second Roach, you can kind of take the gamble here. And that's kind of what he did. And then he's kind of set up for a couple turns here. He's got the Kawi. He's got a Nepthys to regain that 1 point of health, which is huge. Being at 20 against Roach is huge. It makes them take longer in their basically their combo setup. It might take them until turn 9. So he's not looking too bad right now.
Well, I think that this would probably be the time to play Kawi. Just to kind of preemptively set that up. You know, in the next turn, we already know that Akamarured does have a Dance of Death for it. But, again, that's a turn that he's not comboing with. He's not comboing. And it does give him an additional turn to get into that Death Breath that he desperately needs.
He desperately needs it. He might even go for a lot of filter here just to get the Death Breath, honestly. Like, Kawi's nice, but it's the only ward he has access to.
Well, he could just play the Soul Conversion in his hand on the Soul Squasher, but he opts not to.
So very good to play Kawi here. Definitely not a bad choice. If he didn't play Kawi there, actually with the top deck Angelic Snipe, that probably was lethal. So maybe he had to play the Kawi there. But this is the pivotal turn. If Essia doesn't draw something here, he's just gonna die next turn.
Yeah.
Full combo assembled for Aka here.
As long as Akamarured doesn't get any ideas about playing any of his followers, which he wouldn't. Like, he wouldn't play anything right here. As long as he doesn't get any ideas, he's good, you know. I stand correct.
Yep. Well, this makes sense. He has an extra Nature's Guidance. Yeah. Yep. And that's it.
Oh, man. Wait, not yet. He could still Soul Conversion. He does have Soul Conversion.
You're right. He has to do it.
It's not
This is a must Soul Conversion into a get there.
Yeah, he has to do it now. There's literally nothing else he can do. You have to Soul Conversion.
Nope.
And hope you get your Death Breath.
Nepthys won't set up for anything that will prevent lethal here. There's no life gain for Kawi to get.
Oh, no! And we will never know what he just burned. He knows it.
He needed to play a 2-drop first. He needed to play a 2-drop first to get the Death Breath. I think he was going for the Kawi option as well, but overdrawing.
Yep, he knows it. He knows it's a wrap.
Yep.
And Akamarured pulling through. Yeah, you can just see it on Essia's face. He's just, alright, man. You got me, bro.
Yep, Akamarured forcefully making his way back to the finals. I love it.
Yep. Yeah.
Especially in style with these Roaches. That curse is dying, Aya. It's dying. Roach is winning this tournament. I'm telling you.
There it is, and it looks like Akamarured with Forestcraft will be able to eliminate Essia, putting him in 3rd place. And that was a really heartbreaking game from Essia's point of view, I feel like. In both games, just a very uncomfortable position to be put in. And I think for the most part,